tonight on First at 9 this Thursday the 27th of March 2025. Countdown. Election Commission fixes the dates for postal voting for the local government polls. Candidates permitted a maximum of 160 rupees per voter. Revelation. Former Health Secretary claims before CORP that then Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwalla had proposed to import drugs from the Indian company in the substandard medicines case. Hunt down. UK sanctions are biased and reflect a selective application of international pressure against Sri Lanka. Alleges former Navy chief implicated in sanctions. Collaborate to combat. Collaboration of digital sector stakeholders key to achieving $15 billion digital economy by 2030. Highlights Presidential Advisor Dr. Hans Vijay Surya.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lanka Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කන්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත්
අපි පරිස්සම්.
ඉතින් මොකටද නිකන් නාගන්නේ? ස්වදේශී කොහොඹ ලෙමන් ග්‍රාස් අද කාලෙට ෆ්‍රෙෂ්ම විසඳුම.
This is Derana First at 9 live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now in your top story tonight, Chief Advisor to the President on Digital Economy, Dr. Hans Vijay Surya says all stakeholders in the digital sector must collaborate to achieve Sri Lanka's goal of elevating the digital economy to a $15 billion industry by 2030. Speaking at the Lanka Technovation Awards, he also emphasized that the inclusivity of all industry stakeholders is crucial in combating the emerging scam economy.
The 7th edition of the Lanka Technovation Awards was held yesterday in Colombo. It was graced by Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratne, Chief Advisor to the President on Digital Economy, Dr. Hans Vijay Surya, and Central Bank Governor, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe.
Lanka Pay, as the operator of the country's national payment network, is committed to creating an environment that promotes financial inclusion and ease of access to financial services. We started with a vision of enabling a less cash society, and today that the vision is slowly but surely getting closer to becoming a reality. We are witnessing a massive shift in the global digital payments landscape. Sri Lanka is no exception. We have positioned ourselves as an emerging hub of technological innovation with dynamic startups and forward-thinking organizations leading the charge.
Digitalization of financial services. Its other key stakeholders are mainly the institution coming under our supervision in financial services, especially deposit-taking institutions like banks and NBFIs. Other important aspect from the central bank point of view is basically the currency in circulation and trying to minimize the use of cash in the society. This drive is obviously supporting that part also on the central bank responsibilities. And I'm glad that all the stakeholders coming together, or the government, financial institutions, fintechs, telcos, those are very important stakeholders and who are getting together, broaden and outreach and more adoption of technology is very important, not only from the financial services point of view, but also broader national agenda and this government's top priority, the digitalization, which will have much more efficient economic public service delivery as well as more efficient economic activities that will contribute to prosperity of our country.
Sri Lanka has set itself an ambitious goal to uplift the digital economy from its current value of around $3 billion or approximately 3% of the GDP by 5x to a value of close to 15 billion or above, approximately 15+% of the economy by 2030. It means that we have to do things different. It means that we have to address this challenge collectively. Such a leap in momentum cannot be achieved without an aggressive approach to inclusion. Such a leap in momentum cannot be achieved without attention, belief, embracing of the concept of an ecosystem. There are gradients across this ecosystem in terms of capital and wealth and capacity. There are variances and gradients across this ecosystem in terms of innovation, in terms of agility, the ability to do things fast, Alone, each segment will achieve only incremental growth. But in combination, the innovators, the regulators, the stable, high-capacity banking institutions, the NBFIs, the outreach, all come together. I think we can, if not match, we can beat the 5x that we aim to achieve. While we talk about a digital economy, we also have to recognize that there is a scam economy growing on the side. And unless we collectively combat the scam economy, the sustainability of payment ecosystems, of lending ecosystems, of any form of fintech or financial service innovation will be held back.
Former commander of the Sri Lanka Navy, Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karannagoda says these sanctions imposed on him and other former Sri Lankan military commanders by the United Kingdom are not based on transparent investigations or legal proceedings, but reflect the selective application of international pressure against Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa said government will continue to adhere to its foreign policy despite criticism regarding its handling of the situation. The United Kingdom on the 24th of March imposed sanctions on 4 Sri Lankans whom it claims are responsible for serious human rights abuses and violations during the Sri Lankan Civil War. Those sanctioned are former Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva, former Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karannagoda, former Army Commander General Jagath Jayasuriya and former Eastern Province Commander of the LTTE Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan, also known as Karuna Amman, who later became a Deputy Minister in the Sri Lankan government. Responding to the sanctions, the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry yesterday said these sanctions were a unilateral action by the UK government which do not assist but complicate the national reconciliation process underway in Sri Lanka, and reaffirmed that any alleged past human rights violations should be dealt with through domestic accountability mechanisms. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, Sri Lanka's executive president when the 30-year conflict ended, also condemned the sanctions, categorically rejecting allegations of widespread human rights violations during military operations, and called on the present government to stand by and defend former armed forces personnel. Meanwhile, today, former Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karannagoda responded to the sanctions against him, claiming that the sanctions are not based on any transparent investigation or legal proceedings, but reflect the selective application of international pressure targeting those who played key roles in Sri Lanka's military victory. He added that the same foreign entities that now impose restrictions did nothing while Sri Lanka was under siege by terrorists and ignored atrocities committed by the LTTE. Meanwhile, several parties commented on the matter today.
There is a connection between the recent decision regarding the Triforce's commanders with regard to incidents that happened during the Civil War and the Butler Commission report being brought to light at former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's interview with Al Jazeera. The Tamil diaspora and separatist groups are behind these incidents. Today we have rehabilitated LTTE and JVP terrorists so that they are capable of representing the public in Parliament. The continuous battle against the international community to protect the pride of the soldiers who sacrificed their lives during the war and the pride of the nation has faded in the recent times. We have to assume that the government is fulfilling their duties to the Canadian Tamil Congress when the government is responding lackadaisically to the Britain's hunt against military personnel. We think that Minister Vijitha Herath wrote the statement engulfed in patriotic thoughts, but US Ambassador Julie Chung, who has power over the government, must have omitted certain words and edited the statement. We have announced our decision clearly and firmly as a country. However, the opposition is always looking for a political slogan to fight against. We will not fall for that. The stability of the country is the most important for us right now. When we are working towards that goal with the rest of the world, we will take clear action based on our diplomatic principles.
Union Assurance. චන්දරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Former Assistant Superintendent of Police Kulasiri Udugampola was acquitted of charges of undermining Sri Lanka's territorial integrity and national security through the publicising of information related to a safe house used by Army intelligence personnel at the Millennium City Housing Scheme in Aturugiriya in 2002. The Colombo High Court issued the verdict today following a nearly 2-decade-long trial. On the 2nd of January 2002, a group of police officers, including then Assistant Superintendent of Police in Kandy, Kulasiri Udugampala, conducted a raid on a safe house used by Army intelligence personnel at the Millennium City Housing Scheme in Aturugiriya. Following the raid, information regarding the Army intelligence officials who were present at the location at the time and their covert operations was publicised. Subsequently, the intelligence personnel whose identities were revealed were killed by the LTTE on several occasions. Accordingly, the Attorney General filed indictments against former ASP Kulasiri Udugampala under the Official Secrets Act on charges of undermining the territorial integrity and national security of the country. Following a nearly 2-decade-long trial, Colombo High Court Judge Aditya Patabandige today issued the verdict on the legal matter. Announcing the verdict, the judge stated that it had been proven during the course of the trial that the accused ASP, who served in the Kandy Police K9 unit, was appointed by the IGP to conduct investigations into the mass murder in the Udatalavinna area of Kandy on the 5th of December 2001. The former ASP during the course of the trial had revealed that he went to the location to conduct investigations upon information received that Chanuka Ratwatte, the son of former Defence Minister Anuruddha Ratwatte, who was revealed to be a suspect in the Udatalavinna mass murder, was hiding in the house of a Muslim army officer in the Millennium City Housing Complex. It had been proven that the accused was not aware that the house in question was an army safe house when he initially arrived there for investigations, but that upon learning of this fact had obtained the support of military police personnel to conduct the investigation. During the investigation, they had discovered explosives and capsules of cyanide, which were later revealed had not been authorized to be stored at the house in question. Accordingly, the judge stated that the court is of the view that the defendant had followed due process and had not overstepped his authority during the investigation. The judge further stated that it had not been revealed during the trial that the defendant, through the raid, had disclosed information related to the Official Secrets Act that could threaten state security. After analysing all the facts presented, the judge ruled that the defendant had inspected the house in the Millennium City Housing Complex and arrested the suspects and goods based on the evidence revealed during the investigations conducted into the Udatalavinna murders, and that these actions had been carried out legally. Accordingly, the judge stated that the prosecution had failed to prove the 22 charges against the defendant, former ASP Kulasiri Udugampala, beyond reasonable doubt, and therefore the defendant would be acquitted of all charges.
දෙයකට පස්සේ දුන්නු ඉතිහාසයක තියෙනවා. පොදනා පත්‍රයක්වත් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් දීලා නැති කවදාකවත් උසස් නිලධාරීන්ගේ දෝෂාරෝපණයට ලක් නොවුණු නිලධාරියෙක්.
Parliamentarian Chamara Sampath Dasanayake, who was arrested today by the Bribery Commission in connection to 3 corruption charges, was ordered to be remanded until the 1st of April after being produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrate's Court. The Colombo Chief Magistrate considered 2 bribery cases against the parliamentarian and granted bail, while he was ordered to be held in remand custody in relation to the 3rd. Parliamentarian of the New Democratic Front, Chamara Sampath Dasanayake, arrived at the Bribery Commission to record a statement in relation to an investigation into an irregularity during his tenure as the Chief Minister of Uva Province. Dasanayake was then arrested over 3 corruption charges and was later produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrate's Court. The parliamentarian is accused of requesting money from 3 state banks for a donation of school bags to preschool children during his tenure as the Chief Minister of Uva Province in 2016. A sponsorship of 1 million rupees had been granted by one state bank, while another had provided 2.5 million rupees. Bribery Commission officials told court that the funds were not credited to the Uva Provincial Council bank account, instead credited to an account of the Chamara Sampath Foundation. Charges have been filed against the MP in 2 separate cases, one for criminal breach of trust and misappropriation of public funds and state banks, while the second case for committing the offence of corruption under the Bribery Act. The court was also requested not to grant bail on the submission that the MP had intimidated witnesses of the case. The counsel, who appeared on behalf of the parliamentarian, submitted a bail application stating that the plaintiff, Minister Samantha Widiaratne, had made malicious allegations and that MP Dasanayake was arrested 9 years after the initial investigation was held. Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali then ordered the suspect to be released on bail. However, upon presenting evidence for a third charge, it was revealed that yet another state bank had declined a request for sponsorship. Thereon, the then Chief Minister of Uva Province had withdrawn 6 fixed accounts in the name of Uva Provincial Council from the said bank at his own discretion, causing the government a loss of 17.3 million rupees. It was disclosed that the manager of the bank in question, a witness of the case, had been intimidated by the suspect. The Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali then ordered the suspect to be held in remand custody until the 1st of April.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
කැලනි වයර් කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. කැලනි ෆයර් ෂීල්ඩ් වයර්.
The Election Commission announced today that postal voting for the 2025 local government elections is scheduled to be held on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 28th and 29th of April. The Election Commission also announced that candidates are permitted to spend an amount between 74 and 160 rupees per voter for their election campaigns. The acceptance of nominations for the Punakari, Mana and Dahiyattakandiya Pradeshi Sabhas for the 2025 local government elections, which commenced on the 10th of March, closed at 12 noon today. Accordingly, the Election Commission announced today that the elections for these 3 local authorities will also be held on the 6th of May, alongside the other 336 local government institutions for which nominations were accepted previously. Meanwhile, postal ballots for the elections of the 339 local government institutions are to be issued at the respective district secretariats on the 7th of April. Subsequently, postal voting for the local government elections is scheduled to commence on the 22nd of April, with the 22nd being allocated for officials of district secretariats and the Election Commission, as well as police personnel to mark their postal ballots. Meanwhile, the 23rd and 24th of April have been allocated for other government employees, including members of the Triforces, to mark their postal ballots. Postal voters who are unable to mark their ballots on the aforementioned dates can do so at the respective district election offices of the districts in which their workplace is located on the 28th and 29th of April. Meanwhile, the Election Commission commented on the distribution of official poll cards for the election.
Poll cards will be handed over to the Postal Department on the 10th of April. The 20th and the 27th of April have been designated as a special day for distributing poll cards, and the final distribution will take place on the 29th of April.
In the meantime, the Election Commission announced the maximum amount that candidates contesting the election can spend per voter in relation to each respective local government institution. Accordingly, candidates are permitted to spend an amount between 74 and 160 rupees per voter. Leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, says Sri Lanka should aim to build a people-friendly government starting from the upcoming local government elections. Speaking in Hambantota today, the opposition leader claimed that the upcoming elections will be a turning point for the country. The Samagi Jana Balavege held a workshop for its candidates contesting the upcoming local government elections in the Hambantota district today, under the patronage of SJB leader and leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa.
The government pledged to reduce the electricity bills by a third. They promised the consumers to reduce fuel prices. That too has not been fulfilled yet. The prices of powdered milk, rice and coconut has surged. The government only knows how to be querulous. All they can do is complain. They cannot provide a solution. Neither the government nor the president has the slightest idea of the pain and the pressure felt by the people. The closest turning point to change the current situation will be the upcoming local government elections. We all should work towards that goal.
Meanwhile, leader of the Sarva Jana Balaya parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira says his party has embarked on establishing Sarva Jana committees, taking an entrepreneurial approach to bring about a real change in the people's lives. He was speaking at a party meeting in Anuradhapura.
The Anuradhapura district edition of the island-wide series of programs organised by local government candidates of the Sarvajana Balaya was held under the patronage of party leader parliamentarian Dilip Jayavira today at the residence of the party's Anuradhapura district leader S.M. Ranjit.
අද වෙනකොට අපිට අපේ මව්බිමේ ඉතිහාසයේ කිසිදා කලින් නොදැනුණු
Presently, we can feel that our nation is seeing signs of the country becoming a failed state, and I think the public too can feel the same. National security is compromised as gathering of intelligent information and review has been challenged. Governance is also challenged. The current state of the nation is clear when in parliament. Why did this happen to us? We feel helpless. We have come up with a creative idea to make a tangible difference in people's lives with an entrepreneurial approach with the concept of establishing Sarvajana Sabha that will provide leadership, capital and know-how. Your village will be empowered. There are rumors that the Sarvajana Balaya is working with the corrupt, but our journey is an honest one to make the wrongs right.
It was revealed before the Committee on Public Enterprises that the Indian company connected with the importation of substandard medicine to Sri Lanka was proposed as a potential supplier upon advice from the then Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwalla. The former Health Secretary disclosed this fact when officials from the Health Ministry were summoned before the Parliamentary Committee.
2022-10-25 දිනතිව හිටපු ගරු සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍ය කෙහෙලිය රඹුකැල්ල මෙතුමා විසින් අත්සන් කළ තියෙන කැබිනට් පේපර් එක. වෛද්‍ය සැපයුම් අංශයේ ඖෂධ 151ක ශල්‍ය වෛද්‍ය උපකරණ හා පාරිභෝජ්‍ය භාණ්ඩ 5278ක තොග ශූන්‍ය මට්ටමක පවතී. මේ කියන නිශ්චිත මොහොත වෙනකොට මේ තරම් විශාල ඖෂධ හිඟයක් ඇත්තටම තොරතුරු තිබ්බද ඔබතුමාලට?
ඖෂධ හිඟේ සඳහා තොරතුරු අපිට මේ වෛද්‍ය සැපයුම් අංශයෙන් තමයි තොරතුරු ලබා දෙන්නේ. මේ අමාත්‍යාංශයේ විවිධ අංශ විවිධ රාජ නිලධාරීන් පත් කළ තියෙනවා. ඒතර මේ රාජ නිලධාරීන් ලබා දෙන තොරතුරු පදනම් කරගෙන තමයි මම මේ අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩල සංදේශය සකස් කරන්නේ.
අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි ඇත්තටම මෙන්න මේ ඔය කම්පැනියම මේකට ආවේ කොහොමද කියලා.
ඇත්තටම ඔය සැපයුම් කරු මම දැකලවත් නැහැ කවදක්වත්. ඔය සැපයුම් කරු තමයි මම හිතන්නේ ගරු ඇමතුමාට යෝජනාවක් දීලා තිබුණේ.
අන්න හරි. ඔන්න ඔතෙන්ට කැබිනට් පේපර් එක හදන්නේ කවුද?
කැබිනට් පේපර් එක හදන්නේ අතිරේක ලේකම්.
ඒතොර යෝධ්‍ය අධ්‍යක්ෂතුමා MSD හිටපු. ලේ පැත්තෙන් දැන් මේ බෝඩ් පේපර් එක හදනකොට ඔය කම්පැනිය ගැන මොකක්ද ඔබතුමාලට තිබුණු දැනුම? කොහෙන්ද මේක ආවේ?
ඒ පේපර් එක හදන එකට මගේ සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ.
අමාත්‍යාංශයට කාටවත් අදහසක් නැද්ද?
මේක මේ සැවරිට් ආයතනය සම්බන්ධයෙන් අන්සොලිසිටඩ් ප්‍රොපෝසල් එකක් හදන්න කියලා ලේකම්තුමාගේ උපදෙස් ලැබුණා.
ඔබතුමාට ඔය කම්පැනි ඇතුළත් කරන්න උපදෙස් දුන්නේ කවුද?
ලේකම්තුමා දුන්නේ.
ලේකම්තුමාට උපදෙස් දුන්නේ කවුද?
කෙහෙලිය රඹුක්කැල්ල.
කෙහෙලිය රඹුක්කැල්ල අමාත්‍යවරයාද මේ සැවරිට් කියන සමාගම තෝරගන්න කියලා ඔබතුමාට උපදෙස් දුන්නේ නිශ්චිතයි.
නිශ්චිතයි.
Two High Court judges appointed to hear the money laundering case filed against SLPP MP Namal Rajapaksa in connection with the controversial Krish project both announced their recusal from the case today. Earlier today, Colombo High Court Judge Manjula Tilakaratne announced his recusal from the case, citing recent social media comments against him. Later, the case was referred to Colombo High Court Judge Sujeeva Nissanka and was then taken up for hearing. Reportedly, at that time, High Court Judge Sujeeva Nissanka had stated that he too will withdraw from the hearing of the case. Accordingly, the case was ordered to be recalled before Colombo Chief High Court Judge Aditya Patabandige on the 21st of May to name a suitable judge for the case to be referred. Welcome back. Now, the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank has collected 3 million rupees through financial penalties on Indian Bank and Amana Takaful Life PLC for non-compliance with the provisions of the Financial Transactions Reporting Act. The penalties were imposed on the two financial institutions for failing to report several electronic fund transfer transactions and for not maintaining updated lists of designated individuals, groups and entities. Central Bank in a statement issued today said the administrative penalties were imposed for the failure of the financial institutions to adhere to the rules, regulations and directives of the Financial Transactions Reporting Act. The banking regulator has imposed penalties of 2 million rupees on Indian Bank for failing to report several electronic fund transfer transactions and for not maintaining updated lists of designated individuals, groups and entities issued under the United Nations financial regulations. The second financial institution institution to face penalties was Amana Takaful Life PLC, with a penalty of 1 million rupees for failing to maintain an updated complete list of designated individuals, groups and entities under the United Nations financial regulations and failing to comply with Rule 58 of the insurer's customer due diligence rules. The CBSL has collected penalties up to 3 million rupees in total from the two financial institutions from November to December last year. Now in a stock update, the Colombo Bourse closed in green today as a result of price gains in counters such as Hatton National Bank, Sampath Bank and Commercial Bank. The All Share Price Index closed 0.22% higher at 15,982.06 points, while the S&P SL20 climbed by 0.38% to close at 4,759.96 points. Market turnover was 2.1 billion rupees. The capital goods sector was the top contributor to turnover, followed by the banking sector as the second highest contributor. Foreign investors closed as net sellers, offloading shares worth 101 million rupees. And with that, here's a look at the rupee exchange rates for the day.